establish a new LLC, brand new LLC. Get with your Secretary of State, establish your base right there in your state. Okay, every state is different in price. That's the first way. Second way, you can take one of those LLCs that are already around. Some people already have LLCs. I understand our newbie doesn't have one, but some people open one. They don't do anything with it. It's just kind of laying around. That could be ideal for our business funding. And the third way, if you want to really be VIP, you want to be on Marvin Francois level. All right, you're going to find what is called
38%. That's the amount of entrepreneurs that are struggling to get their business funded because their personal credit isn't where it needs to be. Now, you can look into alternatives like corporate credit cards and vendor accounts, but the truth is the easiest way to get access to 5 to 6 figures in funding is to have good personal credit. As an entrepreneur, the stress of trying to build a successful business is already enough as is. So why work harder than you need to when you can simplify the funding process by getting your credit restored? My company, Takeoff Financial, has served hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you by helping them avoid the pain of getting denied for business funding by restoring their personal credit, and we want you to be the next one. So click the link above or below this video to secure your free consultation, and let's put you in position to get you funding that your business needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. And today is a very special day because our guest today is a credit specialist, real estate investor, mentor, and serial entrepreneur extraordinaire. To date, he's raised well over $20 million in business funding. He has $10 million in assets under management and is paving his way in the online learning space by educating new and aspiring entrepreneurs on how they can leverage business credit to invest in cash flowing assets. In the game of business, our guest knows how to generate income that's passive, but when it comes to putting that work in, he's always ready to get active. Ladies and gentlemen, hailing from Newark, New Jersey, I'm here with the one, the only, my guy, Mr. Prada Jones. What's going on, family? How are you?
Woo! That was beautiful, man. That was beautiful. I'm sure everybody that comes up here applauds you for that. Like, you really give the best introductions. You're really a natural, man. That's pretty good.
Well, no, I'm not a natural. What it is that when you have entrepreneurial royalty come on your platform, you better prepare. You just don't show up at all. So I prepare.
No, for sure.
I prepare.
That's good stuff. That's good.
Mr. Prada Jones, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Well, man, blessed. Excited to be here on this beautiful day. Sun is shining, the skin is glowing. I mean, what can I say, my brother? You know what I mean?
Listen, come on, man. We here, we're alive, we're blessed, but more importantly, we are ready to give the game on top of game to the people. And that's the most important thing, man. I'm excited to bring you on here. Obviously, you and I both frequent the credit space, but I'm always looking to get connected with people like yourself to talk about it in a way that I just simply can't for the audience that I have to provide them even more value. And I said, listen, if I don't get Prada on here, I'm doing my platform a disservice, and I just can't let that happen. So here we are. I'm excited to make this happen. I know I did an okay job at introducing you, but before we get into all that we're going to cover in the episode, let the people know who exactly is Prada Jones.
Listen, Prada Jones is the guy that everybody comes to when they're ready to make some money, when they're ready to access capital, when they're ready to make logical, strategic investments, and really just escape the 9-to-5 rat race, man, and take the shackles off. That's who Prada Jones is, man. He's also a father, like you mentioned, he's an investor. I purchase businesses and I do real estate with the money that I get from the banks. And I teach others how to do it, especially those coming from the inner cities that lack the education.
I love that. Very well said. You said something at the top of your soliloquy. You said that Prada Jones is the person that people come to when they're ready to make some money. And I want to start the conversation off there, but I don't just want to talk about money. I want to talk specifically about Move Money, if I understand that correctly. Move Money Entertainment, because a lot of people see who Prada Jones is now, but it was a very long journey that took place in order for you to get here. Most people don't know that before you got into this world of entrepreneurship where you're crushing it right now, you had a bit of a background in the entertainment space. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, so we were making music, rapping, me and my crew. But I've always thought about money and how money moved. So that's
Mm,
how you got Move Money, the entertainment business, right? So
right.
it was bigger than just a label name or entertainment name. It's actually because on the scenes, behind the scenes, I was still focused on how to make investments, right?
Mm,
Even in the music game, though I was in the front, sort of like what you see now. You see me in the front. I'm doing things as the talent, quote unquote, right?
right.
But there's a business to that business that happens on the background in the back end that no one sees. And that's what I was doing with the music. So unlike many people, I made money off of music because I understood the business of music. And yeah, music is a young man's sport.
Okay.
Before we got on this call, you asked me how old I am, and
Hmm.
I know I look like I'm 21, but I'm 34, man. So I made a vow to the crew, like, hey, listen, if we don't make a certain or we don't hit a certain peak before I turn 30, I'm gonna leave the music alone. And that's exactly what we did.
Mm,
And it kind of helped out because I can't imagine myself in this space making the kind of music I was making and dealing with the type of people I deal with within the space. Nothing against hip hop, nothing against, what hip hop has done for the culture or does for the culture, but at the same time, the person that is making the music is not the same person that I am when you see me on the business side.
right.
Same thing with Jay-Z, for example. Jay-Z is not the same person that he was when he was making Reasonable Doubt. He is a
Right.
much different, elevated businessman today, and that's who I am in real life. In real time, I'm an elevated businessman. I cannot really be making that kind of music to, target certain audiences. If
Right.
you follow me.
I'm
Yeah,
with you. I'm with you. And I think what's great about, and I'm happy you broke that down because it sounded like you had a lot of self awareness at that point in your life to say, okay, even though I have a certain level of success, I know what my room for potential is, and if I don't crack that glass ceiling by a certain time, I may have to pivot, right? And ultimately, that's exactly what you did.
yeah,
Talk to me about what that transitionary period looked like from being in the entertainment industry to ultimately, obviously you had experience in entrepreneurship because business music in and of itself was a business, but
correct.
finding yourself in the credit space, right? Like how does somebody go from entertainment over to the world of credit? What did that journey look like?
So for many people that are in the entertainment space, that is just marketing at its best. When you see them, that's just them being glossed up, dolled up, hair done, makeup, nails, what have you. Everything is just flawless, kind of like what you see on Instagram. Everything is just always flawless. But those people have a life. Those people have other dreams and aspirations, and they are doing other things other than music at that time. And that was me, right? That was me for sure. I got introduced to credit maybe back in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I had a medical supply company, and I kind of went broke after this medical supply company.
Mm,
That was my first lesson on having a mentor is crucial
yep.
because it was a great business. It made money, but I didn't have the right tools. I didn't have the right resources. I didn't have the right information to pursue that business the way I went into it. And I ultimately lost it. But around that time, I got introduced to credit because I was trying to figure out how I can sustain the business a little longer. So, I went to the bank, and the bank made me realize you need to understand what credit is and how to use it because I flat out got denied for everything I applied for. I
Mm,
didn't have any credit. My credit wasn't established, none of the above. So that's when the journey began on the back end. I started checking in the credit and all the old school credit repair companies and funding companies. I know them all since back in 2013. And I
mm-hmm.
paid for everybody's programs, every last one of them. I learned everything I could. I started dealing with my mother's credit, fixing her up. I got her where she needed to be. And I started living vicariously through her, accessing credit, capital and lending through her credit. And when you say when did I transition from the music, well, I was already doing these other things on the back end. So once music was like, I'm done with this, I needed something to still be the talent of. So I needed to
Mhm.
bring something to the world because I enjoyed recording. I enjoyed, being in music videos and being on stages. So I needed something to replace that,
Right.
and credit didn't seem like it could do that until the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I'm seeing everybody's jumping on the camera now. They're like nobody was talking about credit before. Shout out
Right.
to him 500 because he's like one of the first people that I seen that looked like us that was like cool talking about it. And
Right.
I resonated with that because I understood what he was saying. So I'm like, oh, he can do that. And then he was pushing us to go out there and do it as well. Like, listen,
Right.
I'm not doing anything that you can't do. Right? Get on camera and start talking. I'm like, he's right. So it was so smooth for me because I'm like, all right, I dropped the mic, but I'll pick up, the phone. I'll pick up the iPhone
Right.
and I'll start talking this credit game. And it was perfect, man.
And now fast forward several years later. I mean, I said it at the top, well over 20 million in funding, 10 million in assets under management. I'm sure by way of the knowledge you've been able to leverage in credit to get access to that and so much more. But I think what impresses me more than anything when I bring people on like yourself, it's easy to do for self when you have the information. It's a whole nother ball game when you have mentees. You talked about mentorship. When you have mentees, when you have students, when you have real life people that you're putting in situation with the information you have, so that they're able to turn their life around the same way that you were. On top of the success you've been able to have from the transition from the entertainment space now to credit, could you speak a little bit also about some of the, whether it's mentees or students that you've also been able to impact through your programs that you have, the content that you've created, just the things that you've done in the world of business thus far?
Yeah, man. So I'm still learning content overall. So a lot of the things that we do in real time, I'm trying to figure out how do I bring it to the Instagram world, to the YouTube world,
Right.
where it's tasteful enough for you to consume it, right? Because this is still some sort of entertainment. You still have to package it a certain way for the consumers to be able to, consume it.
Facts.
So when I say that, I have so many different wins within my communities that I don't put on the internet because I just don't feel like no one wants to see it the way I have it. Like,
Right.
But just last week, man, I'm literally last week we closed on the triplex,
Hmm.
3 family.
Hmm.
Now my game is elevating every day, every week, every month, every year in terms of how I can spread value.
Right.
And this is what I've learned within the mentorship space and within helping others achieve some sort of financial freedom. Many people will not make it to that point because many people don't have the same drive.
Facts.
I can't expect Marvin to have the same drive as me if Marvin hasn't been through what I've been through.
Right.
And Marvin may not have the same obligations as I do. So I wake up every day like it's my last day and I go
Right.
out there like I have no other choice but to do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So me knowing that, I always used to think people would just come in the program and be successful just because I said do this, do that. It wasn't working like that, right? And I know the saying, right? The saying, remember the saying that says, teach a man how to fish,
Yep.
he can eat forever, right?
Yep.
I was trying to do that. Like I want you to learn how to fish instead of me feeding you this fish. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, me teaching you how to fish, you might starve for a while because you're not understanding the concept of fishing.
Right.
Okay, so let me give you this plate. Let me give you this plate right here, right now. Let you understand this food is very good. It's
Uh-huh.
lovely. And you
Uh-huh.
can do the same thing for yourself, but let's get you a plate first. And I'm saying all these analogies to basically come back and let you know that I'm starting to just get people the results. Instead
Uh-huh.
of done with you or do it yourself programs, I'm giving people done for you. I
Mhm.
have to do this for you, and I'm going to do it for you now, but you're going to earn while you learn, because I'm going to keep you so in tune with what we're doing. You're
Right.
going to pick up on it over time anyway.
Mhm.
It's part of the issue that I have within the mentorship space right now. So many people got rich, the mentors, the coaches, they got rich off of courses that didn't come with any support. Anything that you do right now, there's no way I got to this point without any support. Right?
Facts.
There's no way I could have gotten to this point without someone being right there helping me along the way. Me falling and someone picking me up. You know, a lot of stuff I was self-taught, but at the same time, the coaches that I had didn't just give me a manual or a few videos and say, "Hey, you're on your own," right?
Right.
So I don't want anyone to go out there, just watch a few videos and think that they're going to just get overnight success. So
Facts.
I implemented the done for you strategy, especially when you're dealing with real estate, because hey, listen, there's tons of information online. Anybody could kind of learn the information. You know what I mean? You could learn what an ARV is.
Mhm.
You can learn how to run comps. You can learn all the things that you need to learn from real estate free. But
Mhm.
when it's time to apply it, that's where you get hurt.
Yep.
That's where you figure out, oh, the video didn't say this part. The video didn't tell me I could do this, I could do that, or I shouldn't do this and I shouldn't do that. That
Mhm.
comes from experience. So I'm going to leverage my experience in real time to get you results. And as a mentee, as a student, as a client, you'll turn around and say, hey, I want to do this again. And
Mhm.
I learned a little bit along the way, but I much rather you be with me every time we do it. And that's kind of how my mentorship works right now, my brother. It's all about results of the clients. The clients' results are my results.
That's it. And to the point that you made, once again, because you have individuals that are just in different parts of their journey, I think it was wise on your end to take the approach that you're taking in order to just help people maximize on getting where they're trying to get to in their respective personal credit or business credit journey. And for the mentees of yours who I have seen post about the success they've had in working with you, it made me even more excited to come on here because I said, listen, if the game he giving away over there is that good, we need to bring it over here as well. We need to go ahead and bring some of that over here as well. So that's definitely one I want to make sure I do on here. I want to talk about any and all things business funding,
Yeah.
right? But before we get into business funding and before we get into business credit, there's a foundation that we need to make sure that we set before we get to that. Before we get to, as I call it, the bag, and that's on the
Sure.
personal credit side, right?
Yes. Yes.
If I come to you, if I'm coming to you through your mentorship program or to you, if I see you in the street, I'm like, yo, Prada, what's going on? How you doing? I'm starting from
Yeah.
ground zero. I ain't got
Yeah.
nothing but $1 in a dream. But I know
Yeah.
I need to get my personal credit right before I can get over to the business credit, my business credit. What are the actionable steps that I can start taking today to go ahead and make that happen?
And this is ground zero. You have
Ground
no
zero.
credit,
Nothing.
nothing.
I have a dream about credit. That's it. I have
Got
nothing else. Nothing.
Do you have capital?
I got a little bit of money. I have a job. I
Got
got a
a
job.
job. Okay.
I got a
Okay.
job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you got to have something. You got to come
Yeah.
to the table with something. Like I tell
Yeah.
anybody, no matter what it is, you either have to have credit or capital or
Mhm.
cash, right?
Mhm.
Or the balance of two. Because we really want to have enough cash where we don't need credit and enough credit where we don't need cash. But you got to start somewhere. So
Yes, sir.
you have no credit, you got a little bit of cash. I'm gonna tell you like this, right?
Let's
And
do
this
it.
is good for my youngins out there too, right? Adults, young adults, whomever, people coming right out of bankruptcy, they all kind of fall within the same category. All right. So what we'll do first, and this is me personally, this is how I built people up in 90 days, 6 months, where their
Mhm.
scores are now reflecting and they can get another credit card or such.
Let's
Here's
go.
my thing. The layout is to get 3 to 5 personal credit cards.
Mhm.
We came in the game, a lot of people was telling us, hey, get 100 credit cards, get 10 credit cards, get 15 credit cards, get 20 credit cards under the personal. But I'll explain why that's not ideal, right?
Mhm.
Getting that many credit cards on your personal side makes you look very desperate for capital. All
Mm.
right. So even though you'll get to a point where they'll approve it, But what you'll start seeing is your credit limits dwindling. They're not giving you the same credit limits like I would get or Marvin would get when we have lower amounts of credit. Okay. You have too much available personal credit. And this is the reason why we ultimately want to be on a business side anyway, because the credit that you acquire is not being seen by other lenders and it can't be seen on your credit report. So back to my first step for someone that is rebuilding or starting from scratch. First things first, let's get our first credit card, right? Which first credit card are we going to go? We're not going to go with the tier 4 credit cards. Those are all the trash cards. There's tiers of credit that you must stick within. Okay. Tier 1 is going to be Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citi. Those are your tier 1. Those are your national banks. Okay. I would love for you to have one of those national cards within your 3 to 5 credit cards that you need. But you're not going to get one of those guys out the rip unless you have a relationship. So my first thing to tell you to do is go open up a Chase bank account. Do your banking in Chase for a little while. Give it like 30, 60 days. Bank with them. Have all your direct deposits. You say you had a job. Get your direct deposits right to Chase. All right? Get Chase to have that relationship. Get that relationship going with Chase. And we're going to circle back with them in about 60 days. Okay, while that's brewing, I'm going to get you, now if you're my client or you're my mentee or something of that effect, I'm going to get you in the Navy Federal. Okay, Navy Federal also gives very high limit personal credit cards. Okay, so you got to be a member of the military, the Army, one of the armed forces to get into Navy Federal, but you can always get a referral from someone that's already in. So I'm going to give you that. I'm going to extend that to you.
Let's go.
Now you're in Navy Federal, okay? We're going to get you a secured card from Navy Federal because you have no credit. Now, listen, here's the thing. You can get an unsecured card from Navy, but I wouldn't even risk it at first. I'm going to take $1,000. I'm going to put it in the Navy Federal, get that secured credit card. I'm going to let it marinate for about 6 months. Let them kick that credit card back out to me with my capital and make it unsecured. It's going to graduate to unsecured, right? So now you got a guaranteed credit card. As long as you take care of the credit along the way, they're going to give you your money back and go unsecured. That's our one credit card. We're going to do the same thing over at Discover. Discover has the secure credit card called Discover It, and they go up to $2,500. Right? So now, if you got a few grand or you save up a few grand or even a few hundred, let's go get a secure card with Discovery. We'll do the same thing we did with Navy. 6, 7 months later, they'll kick you back your capital that you put onto your secure card, and now they'll allow you to have an unsecured card. Those are 2 credit cards. While we're doing this, we're brewing our relationship with Chase. Let's circle back to Chase. Okay, at this time, Chase is going to start seeing that, hey, you do well with your money. You got consistent income coming in every week, bi-weekly. How about you take one of these pre-approved credit cards already? Because we already see you have a score reporting over there. It only takes about good 30 to 60 days to show that report, that score reporting from the other 2 credit cards we got. They'll give you a credit card. They'll offer you the credit card. That'll make 3 credit cards. Now, at that point, we're good. We really have what we need. We got a tier 1 credit card, which is the Chase. All right. We got tier 2, which is Discover. We got a tier 3, which is Navy. We're packaged. Now, if you want any more, I would suggest going with Amex. Amex is very inquiry sensitive, or they're not inquiry sensitive, rather.
Right.
So we could go with a everyday Amex, the blue one.
Yep.
They'll show you love, right? Around that 90-day mark, 90 days or more, they'll give you a credit card. They'll give you 4. And then you could choose from anything else that you want. Just avoid going over 5 credit cards, and also avoid going to a tier 4, which are store cards. Store cards, merchant cards,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Credit Ones of the world, the Open Skies, the Merrick Banks, uh, the what's it, First Premier. There's so many of those poop cards that don't show you any love. They charge you money every month for just having a card. $7 here, $10 there every month, even if you don't use the card. Okay, so you always got to balance. What else do they do that they don't do that they shouldn't be doing? Oh, you're not building any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how long you have a First Premier credit card, they're never going to offer you a line of credit. They're never going to offer you a loan. You're just going to be stuck in that position where maybe they bump up your credit limit $1,000, but they're still charging you every month. So that's where we'll start.
So look, right? You just gave him the full blueprint, and you went a step further. I wasn't even going to talk about tiers yet, but you went and jumped the gun. I said, all right, if we hear, we hear. If we hear, we hear. All right. So I came to you with nothing but a job and a non-existent credit report, and you broke down to me step by step not only how to build the report out, but more importantly, how many accounts I need and what banks to go to, but what banks not to go to as well.
For
Right.
sure.
So personal credit, good. Personal credit, beautiful. Love it. Fantastic. I got a job and I got credit. Amazing. I'll run back to you. I'm excited. Proud of you. Just help me get my credit where it needs to be. I want to go a step further. You a business owner. I want to be a business owner too. You an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur too. I don't got a business. I don't got none of that. But I want to go ahead and start to build my business out from ground zero so I can go out and get access to the 100,000 I see you talking about on social media, the 200,000, the 300,000 beyond. But I don't have a business yet. I don't even know where to start when it comes to the business funding side. I got some insight on the personal side, but no insight on the business side. What's that first actionable step that I need to now start taking on the business side to get access to funding there?
So here's the thing. There's 3 ways to get into the game to establish business funding, right? First and foremost, number one way, get an LLC or an INC. It could be a brand new one, right? Today you start with it. If your credit is aligned, you could go for funding. Brand new. All right. Let me step back a second. The goal is always to get capital, right? To do business. Okay. Because the number one reason why most people don't achieve their goals is because they say they don't have the capital.
Yep.
And, later on, I'll explain that's probably the easiest thing of being successful in business, accessing capital. Right. There's other things that you need to worry about. There's strategies, there's teams, there's all kind of, marketing and sales that got to be implemented within business for you to be successful. But most people just focus on the capital. And in my community, that's probably the easiest thing to obtain. Right. And I'm sure in yours as well, Mark. So nonetheless, if you're looking to get business funding and you have your credit straight now, you have to get an LLC or an INC. I like LLCs, me personally, right? Much easier to work with. And even the bankers understand LLCs more than they understand INCs, right? So here it is. Number one, establish a new LLC, brand new LLC. Get with your Secretary of State, establish your base right there in your state. Okay, every state is different in price. That's the first way. Second way, you can take one of those LLCs that are already around. Because some people already have LLCs. I understand our newbie doesn't have one, but some people open one. They don't do anything with it. It's just kind of laying around.
Right.
That could be ideal for our business funding. Now we have to go in there and modify a few things to make it business worthy, right? Funding worthy, bank facing, if you will, right? It's got to be ready for funding. But if you already have one, don't throw that away. Don't ever think about shutting down your LLC if you already have one. Don't do that. Come see me, come see Marvin. We'll tell you what to do with it before you close it.
Facts.
And the third way, if you want to really be VIP, you want to be on Marvin Francois level. All right. You're going to find what is called the shelf company. Now, the number one reason why we're going to go with a shelf company is because a shelf company is going to allow you to skip the line. You're going to already have 2 years or more in business. That's the threshold for most banks to offer you a line of credit or a loan. 2 years in business. Okay, you can't even get a loan or a line of credit from any of the major banks unless you have 2 years in business. So
Yep.
why we skipped the line with a shelf company is because at some point Marvin Francois opened up an LLC,
Yep.
and he's like, you know what? One day Prada Jones is going to come looking for this LLC. I know he will. So he opened the LLC, made sure it was up to date every year, making sure the annual filings were paid, and he put it on the shelf. Throw it right there. I'm going to throw that right there on the shelf. Okay, 2 years later, Prada Jones comes around because he just finds out about skipping a line with a shelf company, and he sees an ad from Marvin Francois saying he's selling a shelf company. Oh my God, this must be my lucky day. How coincidental. I just learned about shelf companies and Marvin is selling one. You buy it. Marvin, on one hand, he paid maybe $200 to establish it, and he can sell it for $2,000. All right? That's a beautiful flip. For me, I'm skipping the line of waiting 2 years, okay, to be eligible for loans and lines of credit, and I'm buying the shelf company for $2,000. If it's in your budget, this is probably the best way to go. Okay. So those are one of the 3 ways to get into the business space so you can be prepped for business funding.
Yeah. I love that. You said you broke down some of the different ways that we could find our footing in the business funding space. I want to unpack the funding side a little bit more because you mentioned there's a lot of discourse that exists in the business funding space when it comes to methods and strategies that could be implemented. One of them you actually mentioned, shelf corps. So I know there are some people who are pro shelf corp and some people who are anti shelf corp. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Before we get to that, I want to talk about personal guarantee versus non-personal guarantee credit, business funding, because the way we just talked about is mainly by way of getting your personal credit in order so that we can leverage that, whether you're using through a shelf corp or a business you already own and going to get funding. Where do you stand when it comes to and I guess it's on a case by case basis, but where do you stand on the conversation of personal guarantee business funding versus non-personal guarantee business funding? Are you for it? Are you against it? Is it it's depend kind of thing, sort of thing? Where do you fall when it comes to that?
So I'm pro PG.
Okay.
I'm always going to advocate for personal guarantor funding because this is going to give you the most success in your business funding process, especially before you're eligible for these bigger loans and lines of credit that require you to bring statements, documents, tax returns, most of the things that most people don't have. Okay, you don't have revenue that you can show. You don't have the statements. You don't have tax returns. So, I think the misconception with PG versus non-PG is the fact that a lot of these companies that were around prior to the market crash of 08, when non-PG really was a thing, right? Where you could build up your Granger, your Ulines, and all of these vendor accounts and build a business credit score where you could leverage that for some sort of capital. That was a thing at one point. But they switched the game up. They switched the game up and no one else got the memo, right? And for majority of the people that's out here that's just getting in the game, you're still working on old data, old information. So, and I put I know you're going to air this out to your thousands, millions of fans and followers and supporters. And I'm going to put the challenge out there for anyone that can show me right now that they went through some sort of EIN only funding and raised $50,000 to $100,000. EIN only. I mean, no personal guarantor, no social security number involved, no credit check. I'll hand over my entire business, Marvin. Here, this multi-million-dollar business, it's yours today because you have now shown me that I was incorrect and I was telling my community the wrong thing for years, that we shouldn't be focused on no PG. Fix the credit, build the credit, get PG business funding. That's the motto around here. But
Right.
I was doing my community a disservice and telling them wrong. So I don't deserve to have this business anymore. I've grown it. I made millions. It's now time to let it go because I don't deserve it. So I'm gonna be pro PG on this one, brother. I have to be because I haven't yet to seen any other thing. I have yet
I'm
to seen it.
I'm pro PG as well, just because I think it's literally the best and it's the fastest and most efficient way to get access to funding. So, like for example, to your point, if you are, this is what I tell people when it comes to getting access to funding, and you know this, the bank's number one priority is to make money, right? But their second highest priority after that is to minimize the risk they do in the process of them getting the money. So they want to loan you $50,000, $100,000, but you're not about to walk in the bank and say, "Yeah, let me get that money for absolutely nothing." They need something to loan you the money against, which is why PG is so powerful. But if you're
Yes.
not gonna PG, to your point, that's why most people who can avoid that route already have established businesses with the tax returns and cash flow and all these other different things that if you're a new business owner, you more than likely don't have. So to your point, the best route to go is to fix the credit so that you can get the credit and then leverage it to create cash flow and assets. But I think for some people, I don't know. I don't know if it's a fear situation or if it's just a matter of miseducation that's going on an online space. But in 2024 going forward, or whenever you watch this video going forward, it's PG or it's nothing. It's PG or it's nothing. No ifs,
That's
ands, or
it,
buts about it.
brother. You got it.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I also want to talk about another point of discourse that exists in the funding space as well. Because when I first came in, you talked about old methods. When I first came into the funding space, I was told if you want to maximize funding, you got to go on your computer at 4:32 in the morning with with an incognito with 8 laptops open and 8 tabs open, and you gotta apply at the same time, and that's how you're gonna maximize your ability to get access to 20,000, 50,000 of funding. But then I also hear people say if you apply it online, you just don't like money. You never apply online. You go in branch. You go and sit down with the bank managers to get access to the bag. What side of the conversation do you fall on when it comes to that?
The biggest risk that most entrepreneurs take is trying to build a successful business without funding. But that risk is a reality for 1 out of every 3 entrepreneurs because their personal credit isn't where it needs to be in order for them to access that capital. Now, the truth is you can close the gap between where your business is versus where you want it to be by leveraging business credit, but if your personal credit report is poor, 99% of banks and lenders are going to deny you from doing so. And I should know, because a couple of years ago, I leveraged my personal credit report to get funding from Chase to start my company, and now that very same company, Takeoff Financial, is serving entrepreneurs just like you that are looking to restore their credit to get access to 5 to 6 figures in funding. So if you want to go from risk to reward, click the link above or below this video to schedule your free consultation so that we can restore your credit and put you in position to access capital to build the business of your dreams.
So I was into the whole late night automated computer approvals, no manual approval thing. I was definitely, caught into that whole thing. But as you grow, as you grow, you just understand that it's just all marketing. People do things just to get clicks, and that's not truly what's going on. What's truly happening is if you're structured in the way you're supposed to be, the 3 to 5 credit cards, tier 1 to tier 3 personal credit cards reporting, anywhere from 30,000 to 120,000 in available personal credit. Your credit cards are aged, they're seasoned, they're 24 months in existence. That's structure there, right? All of your credit cards are reporting to all 3 credit bureaus. Okay, not just 2, not just 1. You have 3. You have to have them reporting to all 3. Okay, your credit limits are 10,000 or above each one. Okay, most of us aren't there yet, so we got to get credit limit increases. Okay, this is the data that is being used, whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock at night. Okay, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the data that's being used. So there's no trick on tricking the system. There's no hack there. It's all about your structure. Okay,
Right.
and then Navy Federal is a personal relationship bank anyway. So if you have been banking with Navy for months, maybe years, your approval odds are going to be higher than mine anyway, and they may give you higher limits than me anyway if I'm some newbie that just kind of got in, right?
Right.
So that's number one. And then when it comes to, you know, what's our second question?
Well, just in terms of, is it better to apply on the myth around applying in real time,
Yes.
and then also
Online versus in.
in bank, if I should be
So
applying
here's
in
the thing. Once again, if we got Navy Federal, they're stingy with their branches. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any branches. They're stingy with them. They don't have time for them because really, Navy Federal is not for us. It's for the those that are in the services, okay?
Right.
And they're not doing banking all day, every day, and they're usually close to basis, okay? They're not just to be accessible for us, so they're not thinking about us.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, think about the other banks that give great limits that have no branches. They have no banks, okay? American Express is as great as they are. They have no branch where you can go and bank. You cannot
Right.
go and sit down with a banker.
Facts.
But yet I get people 20, 30,000. I don't even get them. They get themselves it by following the structure that I just laid out. I don't get anybody anything. I don't do any magical things. I just teach people how they should present themselves before applying. That's it. Okay. And these people are going to Navy Federals, the American Expresses that have no branches, right? American Express has no branch and they get high limit credit cards.
Right.
So to just say you got to go in branch before you get approved for higher limits, that's not quite correct. But on the same note, we got to remember we live in a digital era. Okay. And what happens in a digital era? A lot of fraud, a lot of scams, a lot of identity fraud. You know, people are out here stealing our information right now. There's a Prada Jones running around right now trying to figure out how to access capital. He's out there right this moment. He's out there right this moment. He's working on it. You know what I mean? There's a Francois out there. There's a Marvin. I'm telling you, they're working on it right this minute. So from the gate, from the door, applying online already comes with thousands of red flags. Now, the way that we defeat these red flags from applying online is by having that structure. This is back to the reason why you need to make sure all your data is synchronized. Synchronized data. One name, one variation of your name. If you're Marvin Francois or you're Marvin A, what's your middle name, Marvin?
Marvin Glover. Marvin Glover.
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 No, nobody knew that.
Nobody knew that. Glover. That's my actual middle name too. Glover.
Glover.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Marvin Glover Francois.
Yes,
Then
sir.
we got Marvin G Francois. Then we have Marvin Francois.
Yes, sir.
To the banks, so three different people. Three different people. So if on one application you're applying full name, full first name, full middle name, full last name, all your names, they're gonna take that and they're gonna report that. That's one. If you go to the next bank and they don't allow you to put full middle name, now you can only put middle initial. So now you're like first name, middle initial, last name. That's a whole nother person. And then maybe one day you just like, I ain't too beat to put my middle name today. I'm just going first and last.
Right.
You have now screwed up all of your data because you didn't synchronize and keep consistent with what you applied with. So this is where we have to go back and clean things up. Why are we doing this again? Because we live in the digital era. So now in the digital era, when you pop up and apply to Chase and you have 3 variations of your name, you have 10 variations of addresses that you accumulated over the years that you've lived places, you got 5 different phone numbers, you got 2 different emails, they're confused as who's actually applying. This is where the denial comes from. I don't care if you got a 720, 730 credit score, 750, maybe even 800. They're denying you based on not knowing you. And the denial might be soft, where you can have it manually reviewed and changed, but we don't want to get it to a manual position because when it's manual, now you're allowing a human being to determine your value. And sometimes that may or may not be beneficial, but in most cases, the computer is going to give you a higher approval. Okay. So you want to be synchronized. And this is why you would choose to go online versus in person. Now, once again, what I mentioned, online, you're going to get more red flags. So if you're synchronized and clean, you defeat those red flags.
Right.
But taking that extra step to walk in branch defeats almost all red flags. Because though there is a fraudster for Prada and Marvin out there, fraudsters like to hang behind the screen. They don't want to walk out there. They don't want to be in person. Maybe the brave ones do. You know, they'll go in there and try to be us, but 9 out of 10 times they won't. So this is where you really bump yourself up to get those approvals easier. It's not just because you're in person versus online. It's because you're structured a better way and you're defeating those extra red flags when you walk in branch. So I'm not going to say in branch is better or worse. I'm just going to give you the facts on what surrounds walking in versus online. If you're structured, I don't care where you are. You could be online, you could be in person. You're going to get the approval. You're going to get a higher approval because they know exactly who you are. So that's where we should focus, not so much of the hacks, not the late night hacks versus the in day hacks or the daytime hacks, not the do I do it online or walk in. It's getting structured to get approved. Synchronize your data to get the highest approval. Maximize and optimize your funding by being structured. That's where we start.
One thing I love and I see is a common thing that you're breaking down when we talk about funding, and that was a very thorough breakdown. But the two S's that you keep bringing up, structure and strategy, structure and strategy, structure and strategy. I want to talk a little bit more so about the strategy side of things, because you did a really great job just now of breaking down the importance of structure and not leaning so much on hacks and applying at 4:32 in the morning. Like giving yourself the right base and a foundation is the most important thing. But when we talk about strategy, one of the key things that you're very familiar with, I talk about it, a lot of other people in the space talk about it a lot, is the importance of having a funding sequence. So another S. We talked about structure, strategy, sequence.
Yes.
We on 3 S's now. Sequence.
3 S's. Yes.
So you've named a couple of different banks. You've talked about Chase. You've talked about American Express. You've talked about Navy Federal, which is another financial institution. But when we talk about sequence, Prada Jones, why can't I just go to any bank willy-nilly? Even if I do have the structure, why don't I just go to a bunch of any banks that I want to under the sun and just apply willy-nilly? Why do I need to have an understanding of sequence as well? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course, man, because sequence will allow you to optimize and maximize your round of funding. There's no secret. Every time you apply to a bank, you're going to get either a soft pool or a hard pool. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get a hard pool. Now, these hard pools are inquiries. These inquiries accumulate on your credit bureau profile. Okay, so certain banks pull from certain credit bureaus, and when you acquire or you get that inquiry, you're going to stack up inquiries from that credit bureau or onto that credit bureau. Okay, so knowing where to apply, when to apply, and the sequence in which to apply will allow you to do multiple applications before you start getting denied. And then certain banks don't like to see that you've kind of been shopping around. So you got to get them out the way first. Don't even play around and come to them last. Go to them first, get them out the way, because they're going to deny you once they see you went somewhere else. They're very emotional. They're like, you went with them before. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you. So the sequence that I like to give out, very basic sequence. And sequence, you have to understand what you're doing within sequence, because the sequence is going to be determined more so where you live, your area. There's certain banks that are national, like the Chases, the Bank of Americas, the Cities, the Wells Fargo. So we kind of get access to that nationwide, but certain banks you cannot go to if you're not in this region. They got regional banks like a Key Bank, a Truist, TD banks, things like that. They're not everywhere. So your sequence is also going to be tailored to you. This is also the reason why I chose to teach people this versus just do it for them.
Right.
Because there's a lot that goes into this, right?
Facts.
And you have to appreciate what's actually going into it. And the only way you appreciate something is when you go through something. Because if I just keep doing it for you, you won't really appreciate it. And
Facts.
then, and the caveat to that also is you save 10% on the funding. The success fees for most companies is 10%, which means if I access 100 grand for you, you owe me $10,000. You're already in debt and you haven't even made your investment yet. But once again, some people just rather it, and I'll take it. I'm not gonna
Right.
fight you to learn,
Right.
But here's the thing: for those that are out there, we go to Chase first. Chase pulls from Experian 9 out of 10 times. Sometimes they might pull TransUnion on you. Sometimes they might pull all three, but typically, in most cases, they're gonna pull Experian business on the business side from Experian with your Chase application. So we start there. Let's just say we got a clean slate. Let's say that same gentleman
Yes, sir.
or female that built up his or her credit. They're ready. They got the LLC. They listened to us. They structured it the right way. Business address, business phone number, business email, the whole 9 yards, everything that we teach. They got the structure all out the way. Now they're ready to go for funding. First stop has to be with Chase because Chase is inquiry sensitive. So we don't want to go to Chase and, have 3 or 4 inquiries. We'll get them out the way first. Okay. We'll typically get, depending if you have a RM, a relationship manager, all right, within the bank, that's everybody's quote unquote contact or plug or however you want to say it. Right. But just about anyone could build this relationship with a relationship manager. Okay. They typically only allow you in when you deposit 250,000, but let's be frank, most people just not making those kind of deposits. And these managers still have to work. So what they'll do is they'll work with you if you come and you request that relationship manager, have a conversation with them. Okay. And then you explain to them what your plans are in terms of your funding and getting a credit card or a potential loan or line of credit. And now you have the plug. You now have access to the person that's on the inside that can do the DocuSign application and request a certain amount on your personal or on that business credit card. All right. They can request it. That's the difference between you doing the application online or having the manager do the application. They can request how much you want. And that's the big difference on how much you get approved for. All right. So we'll go to Chase first. From Chase, it's wide open. It's ball game. You really could go just about anywhere. Right. But here's the thing. I have to also mention when you go to Chase and you get that approval, don't use that credit card yet. Okay. Wait to use that credit card. And why I say wait is because Chase is infamous for reporting to your business bureau, your Experian Business Credit Bureau. They're going to report the utilization. All right. Okay. Now, the reason why we're on the business side already is because business credit cards are not supposed to report to your personal profile. Okay. So that's okay. That's out the way. But Chase will report to your business profile. And certain banks are going to be looking at your business profile along the way for your approval. Right. I can name a few. Amex will look for it. American Express will look at your business profile, your business credit bureaus. Bank of America does it. PNC does it. Key Bank does it. Okay. Key Bank does it. US Bank does it. All right. So I just gave you 5 banks that are going to pull business credit scores. And when they see that Chase credit card that you went and got is maxed out, is highly utilized, you could get denied for funding. Right. So we get Chase out the way first, but we still don't use it just yet. Okay. And we could bounce around. And what's more important than where to go is how to find the banks.
Okay.
How to find the banks. Okay. I like to go to bankbranchlocator.com. All right. this has been going around. I've seen more and more people talk about this, but we've been using bank branch locator maybe for the last 2 years. And it's really, really good because now you can find these little pocket banks that are going to give you these no documentation loans, these no documentation line of credits, these no doc or statement free credit cards. You can find them yourself and you can develop your own sequence. Just like I found the bank, First Bank. Actually, let me not take the credit for it. My guy Lou, he's from New Jersey. He came into my program maybe March of last year. He's the one that brought First Bank.
Yep.
And First Bank is primarily in New Jersey. He found his bank using these same strategies where we learn how to vet banks. Okay, so instead of just listening to the sequence that everyone gives, do a little homework. Go out there and investigate what's going on within your cities, within your state. You go right to bankbranchlocator.com and you can pull every last bank that's within your state. And once you do that, you start calling on the ones that are not the national banks, not the regional banks. Start calling them smaller banks, the little smaller credit unions, the smaller community banks, and you vet them out. Because remember, the banks are there to do business with you. And you can really just not have to do business with any of them and find the ones that you want to. It's no obligation to work with them. They need you more than you need them. I know it feels like we need them more, but they need us in order to stay in business. We outnumber them. You know what I mean? So they need us to stay in business. So once you find this list, you create this list. I would say start with about 10 banks.
Okay.
Get about 10 banks, all different names of banks, because you're gonna get the sequences everywhere else online. The major banks, you're gonna get the Chase, you're gonna get the American Express, you're gonna get the Key Bank, you're gonna get the Truist. People talk about these now. Now it's time to start finding your banks within your community, within your state. When you make that list of 10, you call up, say, "Hey, how you doing, John? Yeah, John, I'm interested in opening up a business bank account." Okay. Oh, great. Yeah, we got this type of bank account. It only requires, $100, $200 to open up. That's the relationship side of it. We're finding out what the relationship is going to cost us. Great. Now we get in the relationship. We're going to ask next. So while I'm banking with you guys, I'm thinking about opening up a business credit card. Right? I need a business credit card to float some expenses and things. Could you tell me what the requirements are for that business credit card? Oh, yeah, sure, Marvin. It's going to be a 680 credit score, 700 credit score. Okay. You have to bank with us for 30 days or 90 days. This is now where you understand how long you have to have that relationship before even applying. Right. Some of them don't even mention the 30 days, 90 days, or 60 days. Well, then now you can do it from the beginning.
Right.
Great. All right. Hey, while you're at it, what bureau do you guys pull from? What credit bureau do you pull from? Oh, we pull from Equifax. Wow. First of all, Equifax has no banks. So when someone says Equifax, you got to write that down. Now I know Equifax. Perfect. Okay. And if you really want to go a little deeper, you can ask them, what FICO variation scoring system do they use? What FICO score do they use? Okay. And that could be FICO version 8, version 9, version 10, 10T. When you really get into credit, you won't look at anything other than my FICO to know your FICO score. Okay. And that's going to allow you to know, all right, Navy Federal is pulling FICO 8 or FICO 9. Or when it comes to your auto loans, you understand that they're pulling different FICO autos versus your FICO bank card score. It's so many different scores, but you need to know all the way to a T what you look like before applying.
Right.
Now you vetted the bank, you know where they pull from, you know what kind of money you have to invest into their bank account, you know what kind of relationship you need. That's a part of your sequence. That's not my sequence. That's not my New Jersey sequence. That's your Tampa sequence. That's your Texas sequence. That's your California sequence. That's wherever you are nationwide. You can eat. You can feed yourself. You don't have to wait on a Marvin Francois to tell you the newest bank. You go find the bank.
Facts.
All right, that's how we got to do it.
Come on, man. Prada, I don't curse, but Prada, MF, and Jones, ladies and gentlemen. I told this brother come on here, give a little bit of game. He said I'm taking over. He said
No,
it's the it's the Prada Jones show. He said it's like the Marvel vs. Watch. This is the Prada Jones show. My guy,
let's go.
listen. This episode has been. We uncovered a lot of myths on this episode, broke down a lot of strategies, gave a lot of gems, gave a lot of really great game for individuals that are either new to or true to the space of credit and business funding as a whole. And I want to take this time to say thank you for coming on here, man, because I know this has definitely been an episode in the making. We may very well have to do another part after this in person. We may very well have to do another part in person so that we can get even more game. But I always have a great deal of pleasure being able to sit down with you, man, because you are a treasure trove of information. Before I get you out of here, of course, in closing, you talked earlier on about your transition from the entertainment space to where you are now, right? You have created a great business for yourself, a great name for yourself in the funding space. I know that you probably still feel like you're just getting started and there's so much more that you want to do. I want to speak to someone that's watching this episode that was where you were in that transitionary period where you were kind of trying to find your footing and really rebrand yourself and reinvent yourself to become who you are now, right? If somebody saw a video or photo of Prada from 10 years ago, they probably wouldn't be able to tell it. They would probably, who is this dude? And who is this dude, right? They wouldn't be able to know. They wouldn't be able to see how this guy became the person he is now. Speak to that person that's watching this episode that is in that gray area where they too are trying to make that transition and get to a certain place in business. They're dealing with the hardships, they're dealing with the trials, the tribulations, the bumps, the lumps, and the bruises that come with it. What closing words would you give them as we prepare to wrap this episode up?
Listen, if you're an entrepreneur struggling to get funding because of your bad credit, then this video is for you. You see, I understand that when banks deny businesses for funding, they're not just denying businesses the capital they need, but they're also denying business owners the resources that they need to build the business of their dreams. And as a business owner, I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again, but I want you to know that there's a solution. Because here at Takeoff Financial, we've helped countless entrepreneurs just like you go from having poor personal credit and not being able to access funding to having perfect personal credit that they were able to leverage to access 5 to 6 figures in funding, and we want you to be the next one. So click the link above or below this video to secure your free consultation, and we'll see you on the other side of success, family.
Man, listen, to be honest, you just got to keep going. And I know it sounds so cliche and it's just so simple, but you have to keep going. If you want this, if you want to escape the 9 to 5, you want to escape the rat race, you have to keep going and not just keep going in the same direction that you started from. But hey, listen, you got to alter that direction. You got to alter that path to say, I need to pick up a few things that the people that are doing what I want to do are dropping. If I say, listen, Marvin Francois got me $100,000 in business funding. Don't go out there and go work with Thomas. Work with Marvin. I just told you exactly who did it for me.
Right.
And I am someone who's reputable. I'm saying this and I'm letting you know this guy is official. Okay, of course, still do your vetting on Marvin. Make sure he's a good fit for you. But I've already gave you the layup. I threw you the alley-oop. Here it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is just tell you, be around the people that are doing what you want to do.
Yep.
They've already been through it. Back to the reason why you need a mentor. Get a mentor. Get someone that has actually experienced the same thing that you're experiencing and has prevailed. They've made it out of it, right? They've done what you want to do and have success at doing it. Okay. Most of these people are not having success and they're just good marketers. Right? They go up there, they market really good, but they can't produce receipts. They can't show you at the properties that they're saying they're buying. They can't show you any of the businesses that they said they're buying. They say they're I forget what it is, super host on Airbnb, but they got one unit. Like, come on, like that's not who you want to learn from.
Right.
You need to go with the people that's actually out here stamped. They're doing what they got to do. So for one, or maybe for two, maybe for three. Slow down. Slow down also. Yes, slow down. I know we want to rush and get there because, time is of the essence. Yes. Work diligently. Work daily. Work every day. Work all the time if you have to. But Slow down in the sense of making these decisions that are setting you back. These decisions that you're making, spending money with unqualified people, are setting you back. So when I come around, when Marvin comes around, the real people that's actually doing what you need,
Come
you
on now.
can't even afford it.
No.
You're like, oh man, you can't. You don't know how many times I've heard someone say, "Oh man, I paid for this other program and I got hurt or I got scammed or whatever the case may be. It wasn't what I thought it was," and that kills me because I want to give the programs away for free. I mean, think about it. I give a lot of this stuff away for free, but
Facts.
when it comes time to actually give you those one-on-one experiences, we got to get paid for our time. Remember, we're in this to not just be philanthropists, but we
Mm-hmm.
also want to make money too. Okay,
Right.
we want to help the culture, we want to help the people, but we're in business. We're all in business. Okay, this is a business.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, stick around people that's doing what you need to do, that you want
Mm-hmm.
to do. Take advice from those that have done it and let them direct you to the people that have helped them get there because they didn't just get there by themselves. What book did you read to learn this? What mentor did you have? Or what program did you pay for that I could pay for and learn something similar? Okay. These are the things that will help you get to the next level. And once again, vet, and slow it down. Just slow it down. Pace. Run your race. Watching Marvin Francois get 100,000 subscribers is not your race. He's gonna do that. That he's been doing this 10 years already. You can't just get
Facts.
into podcasting and it just be like, oh, I need 100,000 like Marvin too.
Mm-hmm.
Slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Put the reps in. You can't get these muscles like Prada if you don't go to the gym every day. You gotta put the reps in. Nah, man. But yeah, Marv, that's it, man. And I gotta, and while I got the mic, I gotta give it up to you too, bro, because as a content creator, as an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
as someone that's out here trying to lead the pack and be a trailblazer, because we don't really have any manuals, any scripts when we
Facts.
do this. You make it look very easy, my brother, and you're
Wow.
really impacting lives. You don't know how many people have, in passing in conversation have told me, did you watch the Marvin friend? I seen this, I learned this from. I'm like, yeah, Marv, let's
I love it.
go. You know
I
what I
appreciate
mean? And your information is solid. Is I haven't seen you bring anyone up here that really doesn't give out good value
it. Yep.
and or they're staying on their name. So you have your own vetting process and it makes so much sense. And bro, I just got to give you yours, give you your flowers in front of you while you're still here, while you can still
Appreciate it.
accept them and smell them. It's all yours, my brother. We appreciate you in the community, in the culture, in the industry. Mr. Marvin Francois, y'all, the one and only,
Hilarious.
my
Hey
guy.
man, I appreciate you even more. And once again, the feeling is mutual. And when it comes to doing episodes like this, I'm very careful about who I bring on because I understand the importance of just help. I created this platform to speak to people who are currently right now where I once was. And I knew at that point in time in my life, I just needed the right information. So I have to bring on a Prada Jones. I have to bring on so many of these other different people who I know are true to the industries that they're in because I don't want to give out fluff. I don't believe in that, right? I want to provide as much value as possible. And I know for sure we definitely did that on today's episode. So my brother, thank you for your time, your value, your wisdom, your energy, the strategy, the sequence, but more importantly, the structure that you provided
Let's
here today.
go.
But more importantly, if you're watching at home, thank you to you for taking a second and taking a minute to be here with me and Prada on this value jam-packed episode. And if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe, tap in, and get wrapped with any and all things that Prada has going on the funding side and his mentorship program. The links for all of those things are going to be in the description below. But family, you already know the deal. My name is Marvin Francois. That's Prada Jones. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. And as always, thank y'all and God bless. Peace.